much for watching or listening today. Liam Hartery here with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today I have another very special guest, Nytro Spelman, known as Kid Nitro, who we're going to be talking to today about his boxing career so far, past, present and future as always. To give you a little bit of background information about Dec, for anyone that doesn't know, former English light heavyweight champion, Commonwealth title challenger, Ultimate Boxer 2 finalist. Been in there with some big names, Anthony Yard, Shakan Pitters, Lyndon Arthur as well, quite a few others, and of course Scott Westgrath, which unfortunately was a tragic fight, but Dec was in there with him as well. So today we're going to be having a chat about his life and career. So before we get into any of that stuff, champ, I just want to say a big thank you for coming on, mate, and just a big thanks for making the time out of your evening for this. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Good. Okay. So so there's a little highlights there. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. But let's get into it with how things are going right now in 2022, for you with your training, with upcoming fights. As I mentioned just now before I started recording, I've seen you've been sharing some good rounds with Lyndon Arthur as well on your Twitter. So can you just walk us through right now in 2022 how things are going for you with boxing, please?
Yeah, well, for me, 2022 is a good start. Apart from obviously the recent letdown of the IBO international fight falling through, which is a bit of a kick in the balls, but that's life. But yeah, over that now. I'm over that now. It's you can't dwell on it. It's boxing at the end of the day, and it's sometimes it can be so unpredictable. The sport can be so unpredictable. But yeah, as far as 2022 itself, it's going really well. Gelling really well with the new coach. Started over at Oster's Boxing with Al Oster in September, October time last year. So me and Al go way back years ago, from years and years back. Shared a few rounds with his lads, one of his lads called Mikey, when I first turned over, really. So that's 9 years ago now. And then he eventually me and Carl split, kind of like a mutual decision between us both. And I gave Al a message, and we started there in September, October. So yeah, 2022 has been good because I've started to see the stuff I've been learning. I'm learning, starts to come into progression, and I'm starting to do things what he's wanted me to do. He's molding me into his kind of type of fighter now, and I can start to see things what I've been working on coming into practice and sparring and stuff like that. So as far as 2022 has gone, it's brilliant as I've got back into the ring after 17 months out, and I'm starting to see stuff come together. So it's good, all around good.
Yeah, it is good to see you back in there as well. And just for anyone watching or listening who doesn't know, obviously you recorded a win earlier this year against Perry Howe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's good to see you back in there because obviously there was that period of inactivity. Now with that period of inactivity after the Anthony Yard and the Lyndon fights and everything, was that sort of by choice? Was that due to injury? For anyone that doesn't know, I was reading up on this a bit, so I think I might know the answer. But for anyone that doesn't know, can you just walk us through basically why you took a break and because we've missed you, man. We missed you being out the ring. So what was the reason behind that with that side of things?
Yeah, do you know what it was? It was obviously back-to-back 2 hard fights that I didn't know, but I had a lot of niggles, injuries, and what was just setting me back. And I took them 2 fights. Obviously, they had 2 of the hardest fights of my career, like topping the bill 6 weeks apart, and my body was in bits, to be honest. I just like at the end of that. I mean, I got paid well. I earned well there as well. I'm not gonna lie. I got a good payday out of them, and I just thought like I boxed since I was 12 years old, right? And I've just given everything from 12 years old. And it was just one of them where I thought, and I'll be honest with you, like the Anthony Yard fight, it pissed me off a bit. I'll be honest. Like I thought I was really done by then. And even when I watch it back, it really winds me up when I watch the fight back. So, and that's one of the fights. I very rarely watch my fights back, but Shakan Pitters fight is one I watch back a lot, and that Yard fight. And I'll be honest, it wound me up a little bit, that decision. I thought I was quite done by, and people might watch this and think you're deluded, but me personally think that was one of my best performances. And I got clips, which I have no objections about, but I just thought the way it was stopped was very, it was bad. But it is what it is. So yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a bit pissed off with the game at that point. but I was niggled by a few injuries, what was really setting me back. And I'll be honest with you, I just wanted to enjoy my life a little bit. It was getting on top of me a little bit, because although when we went into this lockdown, I had I think it didn't work out that long for me actually, but maybe like 4 or 5 months of like a gap. But just before we went into lockdown, I was actually training. I had a fight date, so that fell through. And then, so I was in the gym anyway. You know what I mean? Like I was active, and so then then we got the call up obviously about Lyndon, then the Yard fight. But then after that, we tried getting the Cody Davis fight, and the Cody Davis fight was nearly done. It was nearly over the line, and it fell through because he was under something to do with some managerial contract. I'm not sure, but. I spoke to Cody actually through Messenger. He messaged me and just explained the situation. So that never happened. And I think after that, and I think, also as well, is like it made me sit back a little bit during the lockdown, because we had so much time to ourselves and so much time to think and dwindle on stuff. Like I was on like furlough and stuff from work, and I just had a lot of time to think, and I just thought, I've got no future plan, if that makes sense, and no future plan. So I just needed, I think, a year to get my head right, like to enjoy my life a little bit better, to just make a plan, really, and that's what I did, and it's the best thing I ever did, to be honest. I'm in the right position now. But due to say everything happens for a reason, you know what I mean? And I just think like everything is starting to fall into place, and in the position I'm in now, I'm in the best possible position to possibly get the best I could ever get out of my boxing career. So just having that little gap and that little that break at the right time as well. You got to remember we're still like in lockdown anyway. There wasn't really much going on. So like I'm a 17-month out. And I did a few bits, tried a few different careers here and there, and eventually I've gone in with a mate of mine now, and I basically just teach boxing in the day, and I've got quite a well-known name where I am, for good reasons, and I went in doing a little bit of PT, and I've got a good know-how about fitness in general anyway, and it just really took off. So I basically just. I teach boxing in the day, and I train at night, or I train morning and night now, in fact, and I teach boxing through the day. So it couldn't go any better. So that was the main reason. It was more of a future plans thing, and I would say it's the best thing I ever did.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sometimes it just you need that in life. You need to recharge the batteries. You need to get some perspective on things. I totally can get my head around that. And lockdown was. I quite liked it as well, to be honest, when it actually when we first went into it, because I had time off work as well, so I can get my head around that, and it just recharges you. So totally okay. So obviously with this, as well as talking about the future, which we'll sort of come back to a little bit later on, people are going to want to hear about a few key fights as well. Now you've had too many so far to pick them all, so I've just picked a few key ones, and as soon as we've started here, sort of going backwards. The Anthony Yard fight is, no surprise to you. I'm sure people ask you about it all the time, probably. So, I'm doing the same thing. But if you could share with us some of your memories from that in terms of like the highs and the lows, because I know the stoppage was a bit of a low. At the time, there was a lot of people saying that. Some people were saying it was the right thing, it protected your health. Some people were saying no, it was too soon. And I remember seeing on social media the back and forth was pretty fierce, actually, to be honest. But as well as that, there were some high points in the fight because you did well in there. So can you share with us just some of your key memories from anything you'd like to say, whether it's the build up, whether it's the fight itself, what you've taken away from it mostly, basically,
Yeah, well, you can't buy. I say this to people like a lot, that you can't buy experience. You cannot buy experience. Like Carl, my old coach, my manager, Carl Greaves, he always used to say this. You can't buy. And I'm not just talking, when I'm saying this, I'm not just talking as a fighter. Like, my future plans, I want to have fighters in a stable. I want to have future professionals. I want to have future amateur. I want to have an amateur club eventually, years down the line. And being in setups like that, experiencing stuff like that, hopefully, we're never going to go through it again. In the middle of a pandemic. But I did it twice. I boxed a 12-round for a Commonwealth title against it was. Let's not forget, Lyndon Aff was a world number one, WBO mandatory number one after that, I think he was. So, You know, like not Manchester, sorry. But he was ranked. I'm sorry, he was ranked number one in the WBO. So yeah, so like you go, I was going in there with the best, you know, and let's remember, I come off the back of Shaq and Pitters. I come off the back of a voluntary defense for Shaq and Pitters. So for me to take like the Yard fight, everyone's like, oh, you know, Yard was coming off a loss anyway, and you know, I thought, why not? Why wouldn't I? Why am I bothered about getting something there with people like with somebody like Yard? He's you know, he's not. I don't feel like, well, I know now, even being in with him, I don't feel like he's got the skill set of like a Lyndon Arthur and the awkwardness of like a Shaq and Pitters, and you know, so I just thought, yeah, why not give it a go? And then, like I said, I do believe because I come straight off the back of the Lyndon Arthur camp, of which I wasn't in the gym for, and you know, I made that well known to people. Like my gym was closed. There was not gyms open right where I was running. That was it. I was very, very overweight. And you can't turn down opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a chance out the blue to box for a Commonwealth title. You can't turn that down. You know what I mean? I've just lost my English title. Like, you know, I can't turn that down. So I took it, and you know, I'm glad I did take it because I was never in that fight, and like Linda just kept me on the end of that jab. Would it have been different if I got a lot longer time? I could only got myself to blame for that. So maybe I suppose a lot of people switched off in lockdown, but I'm not going to put excuses out there. But yeah, it's would it maybe be different with long camp? Maybe so. We'll never know. But yeah, so yeah, it's going back to your question. Like, why wouldn't I take the Yard fight? You know, and like I said, it's all valid experience, and it's stuff that I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you feel that way because I still think it's something to be proud of, and I'm totally with you on that side of things, you know. And I know circumstances weren't far from ideal, but it's definitely, and it's something. It's not even a question, this, but like I followed your career for quite a while, and it's something I really love about that is you will sort of get in there with anyone, and you know you do take those big chances.
Yeah, I
And,
mean,
and there's a lot
if you look, I was saying this to the other day, someone from like 10 fights, I've been fighting people known for like one or two on journeyman. I've been fighting people winning records, winning the ultimate boxing. I mean, like, I've never wanted. I turned over to go on the road. I never wanted to be a ticket seller originally, so that's why I had that attitude. And I've been lucky enough to gather a very good fan base along the way. And you know, I'm really grateful for that because it's put me in stand. Like we won precipice to win the English title when Kurt Garvey with MTK, and you know, like we won precipice for that, and I managed to win the champion of England in my hometown. So you know, it's like without like taking the chances I probably did, I probably wouldn't have the respect and the backing of people who followed me, and in which case I would never have been able to get them opportunities. So, like I just said before, everything happened for a reason. You know, I take these chances, and you know, I'm sure it has got a meaning to it.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you there, to be honest. But yeah, you know, it's a really good insight into it. So shortly we'll move past the Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard because I'm sure you talk about them a lot. But still, one other thing about those, out of the two of them, you know, because which one of them was the tougher fight for you? And obviously, tough fights, when I say that, that can come in different forms. That can be power, that can be technical ability, it can be different things. So I'm not narrowing it down to saying, you know, who's the hardest hitter, who's this, who's that, because obviously you were the one who was in there, you know what I mean? So if I sort of hone in, you might miss something else. So if you sort of basically compared the two of them, obviously went on to fight each other, and we know what happened there. But which one did you find was basically, you know, the trickier boxer, the tougher fight, you know, anything like that out of those two guys?
Yeah, I found that I was completely outclassed against Lyndon. You could tell he had a very good boxing IQ. He had very good ring craft, fast hands, fast jab. And I could tell that when I was in there. I could tell those levels. But now knowing what I know now, I would approach the fight a lot different. I'm not going to say too much because it's a possible fight. What maybe could happen one day. So I'm not going to say too much. But knowing what I know now, I wouldn't box the same fight. So it's interesting. But yeah, he was very good. He's got very good boxing brain, Lyndon. The work very well drilled down at that Colliers and Mostyn. They're very, very well drilled fighters. And yeah, so as far as that goes, I'd say that. I mean, you've got to remember in the Yard fight, and I'm saying this like in the Yard fight, BT only had me down by a round at the stoppage.
Yeah.
So I was only down by a point, you know, like so. I felt, to answer your question, I felt in the yard fight, I had to be fully switched on because he was every shot was stiff. I didn't feel like he had one punch knockout power though, which is surprising. Obviously he does, but it affects people different ways. Like it's quite I can take a shot. You know what I mean? I can take a shot. So maybe it just affects people different ways. But every shot was stiff. He had quite good time in yard. But got a lot of habits, a lot of fight habits where he started putting punches and bunches, threes and fours. It was quite easy to hit. I found. But yeah, you had to be on the ball with Yard. You couldn't, fully focused, and obviously you seen as soon as I did have a little lapse, I obviously got the little clip behind the ear, and then I was like, well, I knew I'd been hit. You know what I mean? I knew I'd been hit, and so yeah, as far as it goes, skill set, obviously definitely Lyndon. But yeah, as far as power went, as a stiff puncher, I would say he's not the biggest puncher I've been in with, but as a stiff puncher, definitely Yard, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's pretty much, I thought it would go that way, to be honest, with Lyndon with the technical abilities and Yard with the power, to be honest. But it's good to get an insight into it because obviously being in there with both of them, that's sort of a special achievement in itself. Yeah, definitely with Lyndon, I could see a rematch happening down the road. To be honest, when you get a few more wins in, I've thought that before. Even seeing you two sparring together and the styles and the matchups, I thought, so we'll see. Going a bit further back with a couple of other fights in as well, just to get your insights on them and so on. Obviously, you had 2 fights with Shakan Peters. Now, in a minute, we'll get to winning the English belt as well, but that's another big one. But before we do, obviously, you had 2 fights with him. So the same type of thing. I'm interested to get your thoughts on, particularly on some of the changes you made from one fight to the next, in your own words. That's one aspect that would be good. But as well as that, again, anything that really sticks in your mind. I know that we're talking about a few losses here. We'll get to some of the wins as well. But still, they were very, very good fights. They were very enjoyable to watch as well. So yeah, your thoughts on those two. What sticks with you? What you've taken away from those experiences?
Yeah, so obviously me and Shaq met in Ultimate Boxer final, and I'd say out of everybody, out of all the lads, because we did quite a lot of promo work for that. Me and Shaq actually got on with each other the best, kind of bouncing off each other a little bit and that, and yeah, obviously we were both quietly confident, but you had Joel McIntyre in there who I boxed in the semis. He was an handful. I had a few unbeaten kids in there. Obviously, I boxed a 2-0 kid, 2-0, 3-0 kid in Sean. In Sam Horsfall in the quarters. So you had a few underdogs in there, he just in the Ultimate Boxing the other day. It's a pick'em. It's really is a pick'em competition, isn't it? So yeah, that's how the first one got there. I don't know if it's his attributes that made him kind of breeze it, but everyone says to me you definitely had the rough do getting to that final. But I fought face first. And I made I didn't hide the fact I was coming through just to swing out. You have 3 rounds, and I won't change what I did. I had 3 rounds. I was sparring Sheldon. Bloody hell, is it Sheldon Purdy? I want to say Sheldon Purdy. I think it's Sheldon Purdy. He was just in. He got to the semis at the weekend, so I did some rounds with him the other week, and I just said, it's a 3 rounds. You got 3 frees. You've got to go out there and just leave it all in there. He approached it a little bit differently, more tactically, and it kind of worked with him. But then he got caught by the guy who was just coming and swinging, So it just shows you, you can get unravelled. And I think I would have been a bit gutted if I didn't go in and take that approach and then get pipped on points. I'd have been really mad then. So I really felt like I gave everything to get in the position I got into. And by the time I got to the final, I remember just looking across thinking, Jesus Christ, there's not a mark on him. I had a cut, a broken nose. I had another little cut here. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, he was bouncing on his toes. I was struggling I'd just come out with, I just had adrenaline up my nose to stop it from bleeding so I could continue from the doctor and let me go on. So by the time I get back in the ring, as soon as I started bouncing, my nose started bleeding. I thought, Jesus Christ, this is a long one. And then as soon as I come out, I remember getting clocked on my nose, boom, and I thought, oh, that hurt. And it was just a hot feeling. And I thought, I have to take this knee here, take a knee otherwise, because I knew he was going to lay off on me. So I kind of took the knee, tactical knee, and and then got myself together. But do you know what? I thought I did worse than I did, because when I watched it back, I thought, do you know what? There actually wasn't much in that. I was still pushing the action. But yeah, over three rounds, he's an handful over three threes. So he knows how to use his range over that rounds. Over the longer rounds, you can draw him into a fight. So yeah, I would say obviously I'll just kind of answer your question there. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I would change. I knew like in the championship rounds, you can get drawn into a fight. It's hard to keep a game plan for that long. Whereas three threes, it's like the amateur format, whereas it can be an handful if you to get past that reach, and it obviously proved that because everyone struggled.
Yeah, it's a good insight into it, and two cracking fights. But yeah, I definitely think that the boxer format, it is exciting, but it does change how people fight and how people box. So that's bound to be a factor as well. Coming to another fight here that I've been looking forward to talking about, which is obviously winning the English title. And I want to give this a mention because this is going to be a proud moment for you. And I know as I said, we're working back through the fights. Then we'll come back to some of your future plans, because when I'm asking about some of these, I know there's some big fights still to come. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, we've got to give good mention to what you've already done. So so with that particular fight, winning the English light heavy title, as you mentioned, hometown, great fight, went the distance, everything like that. There's, we all know the stats on it. But in that, we can talk about the fight itself, but I'd also like to get your thoughts on this one, on basically, how it felt to win the title, and obviously the reaction of your community as well, because that's something you've got to factor in when people have a title win, especially a hometown title win as well. So let's get into it a little bit with that one. The fight itself, how you felt winning, but also definitely give a little mention to the aftermath of how your family and friends reacted, because that'll be pretty cool to hear about as well. So yeah, in your own words, please, champ, on that one.
Yeah. So obviously, firstly, that belt meant so much because obviously with the Westgarth fight. So what obviously happened in the Westgarth fight, and that was an eliminate for the English title. So it took me just over a full year, and I got back in mandatory spot. I was mandatory for the English title, so I forgot to mention that. So I was mandatory for the English title when I took the Scott Westgarth fight. So the Scott Westgarth fight. Yeah, my battery's nearly died. I think. All right, it says 20%. You're right. So okay. So I was mandatory for the English title and I took the Scott Westgarth fight as like because I think I don't know if it was tied up. I can't really remember. But basically, that fight happened while I was mandatory for the English title, and then obviously happened what happened. And then it took me just over a full year to get back, and I got mandatory, and we won purse bids. That's why that night meant so much. You know what I mean? And once again, I was never in my own expectations. I never thought I'd win a central area or a Midland title, let alone, bearing in mind, we got to remember, right, I was mandatory for the Midland title against Ricky Summers, who turned down the fight. I was mandatory for the Midland title against Joe Sheriff, all the beaten fighters who turned down the fight. So I've gone past. I wanted to do it the proper route. I later found out I've done some rounds and stuff with. I'm not slagging them. I've done the good lads. I've done some rounds with Ricky Summers, and very good kid actually, very good boxer. I rated him, and he said, it was managerial issues, which is a shame really. Would have been a good fight, I think, that because both a strong guy he was, and he's come forward, and he's just got his license back actually, so he's definitely one to look out for the future. But so I wanted to do the proper routes like that. So I really wanted to win an area title, then go on to be English, and then obviously so on and so on. So yeah, for me to even be boxing for an English title, I was just absolutely buzzing, and then to win it in my hometown when I've done. But bearing in mind, like I said earlier, I never thought I could even sell tickets, and I've just done over 500 tickets in my hometown. The place was 900 and some people in capacity. That doesn't happen from where I'm from. That does not happen. This is a town with not a lot of money. It's a town where the professional boxing. Let me get this right. Professional boxing before I bring a show back in. Well, Carl bring a show back in of 19 years. I want to say 16 or 19 years it was until was professional boxing back in Scunthorpe. So, that was an achievement in itself to bring it back, and then such a good venue as well. It's a brilliant venue where we had it, and then to do it to 3 times, and then the last one to obviously win the championship of your country was just amazing. So yeah,
definitely a highlight, and definitely an amazing win, something to be very proud of. And definitely, I'm glad you gave that a mention, that you put that back on the map, in your hometown as well, because I remember hearing a bit about that at the time, that you're like the boxer everyone knows from.
I'm pretty sure it's 19 years. But I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure 99%. Yeah. And the thing is like now, which is really nice, is like I know the old pros. So what was good back in the day? Well, one of them was one of my old amateur coaches, Neil Leach, and you got Trev Meikle, Jim Betts, and Jim Betts went the furthest. But like it's nice now because they like a few of them come to my fight, so it's great because that's people like my oldest boxing memory from being a kid was my mum watching Jim Betts in a Commonwealth title fight, the Nicky Booth. And I remember watching my mum on TV at Nottingham Arena and thinking, wow, that's my oldest memory. So that was years ago. So, but 2000, no, probably not in 2000. It'd be earlier than that, maybe. So yeah, like thinking about that, like that so it means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like seeing fighters like that coming up and giving me compliments. So yeah, it's a bit surreal sometimes to say. Like I said originally, like I wasn't even going to sell tickets. I was just going to go on the road. So it's how it turned out is it's quite amazing, really.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's an amazing win, and as I say, we really did put it on the map. I remember that at the time because in the current era, obviously Jody Nichols, he's quite notorious from Scunthorpe, so people hear about that. But in terms of bringing the show, to it, that really put it on the map, and the reaction from your community must have just been amazing. So, fair play on that one. Obviously, coming to the Scott Westgarth fight and everything that happened there, and it's a tragic situation. So I think it's fair to touch on that one because with this interview, I'm sort of touching on some highs and some lows, and that was probably a bit of both. Now, with the Scott Westgarth fight, I mean, you probably again talked about this a lot. I don't know how easy it is to talk about or not, but very tragic situation. So with that in mind, we all know that he passed away after the fight. We don't have to really get into that here. But in terms of how you feel about that, I saw an interview you gave that was for a newspaper. I can't remember which one, but it was like a written one like this, where you said that basically you're dedicating your career to him. You're gonna be the best because of him, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
In the immediate aftermath of it, how did you feel about obviously him passing away? Did you feel responsible for it? Did you feel guilty? Did you how did you sort of come to terms with something like that is a very hard thing to
yeah you can't point to words. You can't put to words like so like 2 weeks after that happened, I had to go face his dad and his brother, this guy, and in a Costa, like I just thought it was the most respectful thing to do, and then I thought that showed balls, kind of like what kind of person I am to like, I went on my own as well. That was very, very hard. That's probably harder than that. Probably one of the worst situations I've ever been in. Like, like to think I didn't know what to do. I didn't like. I didn't. What you can't. In your own head, you can't do right for wrong. That makes sense. So you don't. You're scared to say certain stuff. You don't want to do certain stuff to offend other people. You don't want to. You feel like I felt like you go out. Everyone was talking about it. This is the thing. Like it was front page of it. I've gone from being like for example, I'll say an example. So when it happened, so it's just like normal. I'm fighting it. It was at Donny Dome, like. Donny Dome, just a little school venue actually, nice venue, but just a little venue, a small also. Next 2-3 days, I'm turning GMTV, I think it was on, and they're like talking about my fight and this. I'm like, and I just slagging the sport. I've loved. It's like, and it was because of the somewhat I'm involved in, and it's like, and then next thing it was like front page of all the national papers. It was that strong. It was front page of most papers. Like, I remember going in and seeing it, like, and it's me on the front page of all these papers, like, oh my God.
I remember that.
And then you just like, I just didn't want to, you didn't want to go out at times. And you got to remember, I was the one who, how to say it, was like the lucky one in the situation. If you want to say lucky one, I don't know how to word it. Once again, it's even hard now for me to talk to say I don't want to offend anyone. Do you know what I mean? So like, even now, all these years on, it's still fresh in my mind anyway. You know how many years it'll be down the line, and yeah, it'll always be tough. But like, you just don't know what to do right from doing wrong. You don't want to offend anyone. You just want to hold yourself in the most positive manner you can, which is hard when you. Yeah, I felt like sometimes I did that many. I didn't want to do it. I'll be honest. From the start, I wouldn't want to do any of the interviews. I didn't want to do anything. I remember bloody ITV. Me and Carl did an interview at ITV, and both just there like broke down. You know what I mean? You can't. And I'm not an emotional person. Believe me, I'm not. You ask my family, I'm not an emotional person. But you can't. How can you hide emotion like that? It's raw. It's not. It's something you hope you're never going to go through in your life. You know what I mean? It's that feeling. I'm saying. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just luckily. Like Carl was a rock through that. And my family was good. Scott's family, bless them, they were brilliant. I was lucky in the situation of the support I had. But at the same time, you really didn't know what to do right for wrong. My work at the time was quite good with me. I was only just in a little shitty paint factory working shift work, and they gave me time off. That's another thing, going back into work, everyone's like looking at you like, all eyes on you. Oh, we didn't know what to say to you, mate. Just don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Just not to say like, and it's not. You get pissed off because you're thinking they don't know what to say to you. It was surreal. It still is surreal now. I've got put the photo above. You know what I mean? That's from the fight. That's it's like I've got the shorts in a thing. Do you know what I mean? All packaged up. It's not. That's something will never leave me. But you know what? You go back to like saying experience wise, and as much as it was a horrible experience, and one will never leave me. I'm still probably going through. It's an experience, full stop, if that makes sense. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, once again, it's just, I pray that none of my fighters or, in the future will ever go through it. But if there was, I've got a little bit of experience to touch on the matter. You know what I mean? And I suppose that's the only thing you could say, if you want to call it a positive, to come out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit of guidance from people if it ever happens in the future, which unfortunately, I've touched what it done, but unfortunately I think it will. And I would just reach out, I suppose, because I've got a good understanding of what it's like, and that's the only really thing I can take from that.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but there's a lot of things there to go into, a lot of different things. I mean, I remember obviously when it happened, and it was on the front page of everything. I mean, walking into I can't remember what it was. It was like Tesco's or Asda or one of the big shops. They got all the newspapers out on the front, and it was like, it was all over everything. And and I remember that, and I remember thinking then, how everyone involved must feel, and things like that. And it's something that I want to give a mention here because I'm a big believer that boxing, it saves more lives than what it takes. I mean, obviously taking kids off the street, and I've seen it save people from drugs and alcohol and depression and homelessness and shyness and all sorts of stuff. That's like brought people out of. But obviously, tragedies do happen, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I mean, I know with the fight itself, you probably talked about the fight itself, and it was back and forth, and you both knocked each other down and this, that, and the other. But I thought, what, it's better to get your feelings on the aftermath. Obviously, the only other thing to mention with that is what I mentioned at the beginning, when you decided to continue your career and sort of move forward. I've come across guys who've been in situations like that. They've never boxed again, or if they have boxed again, they've sort of held back on opponents and not wanting to knock people out. And I know you didn't knock him out, but you know what I mean. They sort of held back on power. So was it a difficult decision, for you, because you had the time off as well, to decide to go again and to decide, when you got to that point that I mentioned at the beginning where you said, I'm I dedicate my career to it. And that's the only other thing I want to mention here, because it can't be easy for you to talk about, and I do respect that. Was that hard
Yeah,
to come to, to that point where you decided to go again?
yeah. I mean, so I'll tell you another mad thing. I put a tweet about this actually. It's like, which I got like a, because people was interested in me. I got like a big following from it. So like, not a good one sometimes, not a good one. So you get a lot of trolls and little rats. Like on the Twitter's a bad one for it, but yeah, like dig your fake accounts as a fat, and like so I want all positive. But off the back of it, I got like, I got like a bit of a following from it. Now I felt. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I felt like ashamed that I was getting so many followers from this, so many followers from that, and in the end, when it's all said and done, it's bullshit. You know what I mean? But the fact is, I did. It took me. I felt like it took me a while to shake that off, shake that until I won the English title. Until I started getting in with these names, the only thing I was known for was the Scott Westcott fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
like that's what I was known for. So, yeah, and now I'm known as a former English champion. Been in there with, that's that kid who boxed 6 times. That's a buzz boxed 2 times in 6 weeks. Boxed yard after went on to do this. Like, but I remember being at a time where I felt like it was never going to shake off the fact that I was just always getting pinned to that one mention, and so which I'm not. I'm not obviously ashamed at all. I'm if anything, I'm proud to be associated with a fight like Scott Westcott. But I do feel like that was a big thing as well. And then like at the same time as like on my fight shots, like now and that, I always have Scotty or some kind of remembrance to him. But I remember like you had like some parts of the family like that, but then other parts it's like some part was like just kind of let it be, you know what I mean? Like and I'm thinking it's kind of a bit of a what's the word? Bit of a comfort blanket for me, in a way. I quite like on there, but at the same time, I've got to understand what the family's needs are. The ones, like I said right at the start, when we were just on about it, you just constantly feel like you tread down eggshells, which is totally understandable. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I shouldn't be, because it's such a touchy situation. Like I totally get it, but like to answer your question here, it's just one of them where you really don't know what to do.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. I mean, it makes total sense. Like, obviously, I've not been through something like that, but it makes sense from where you're coming from, the different ranges of emotions you must be feeling, and the way people must react to you with like. And that's the thing. Going out after it must have been strange with like the eyes on you and everything like that. Like
Especially that I live in a small town as well. That was another thing as well. Like, yeah. Oh, did you hear what happened? Do you know what happened? It's like, you know what I mean? It was that was it wasn't just in the boxing world. It was like it was all over really. So yeah. But like I said, it's a crazy chapter in the book, and it's certainly one I won't forget.
Are most people cool with you now though? Like, most people, because now obviously you're known for like all these other things with Linden, and even though Scott won't ever go away. Like, do you feel that people are sort of settled on it now? Like, knowing you're a good guy and not sort of gossiping about it.
Yeah, of course. It's just like, like I said, it's not. I don't like to say this word, but it's not like it's blown over as such. Like, but straight off the back of that, I'll tell you like an example where it really crept up on me was I remember I thought I was really like kind of over it, not over it, but I like all my boxers. So have you seen how they do the build ups to it?
Yeah.
And I like a bit of a sob story, and you know what I mean, like the presser and stuff like that. And I remember they asked me about it, and not really giving one. I'll be honest, I kind of put it in the back of my mind, and I remember it just like boom, hit me. And I was on set, microphone, and I just like I'd done interviews with ITV, boom, held it all in. I'm just there. There's like a few guys around me with the camera in my face. I'm getting interviewed. I remember I just welled up. My eyes had gone. I'm just talking to him midway, and I'm just like I had a little bit of a panic attack, like, you know what I mean? So I remember that very, very, very well, and that's always in the back of my mind, thinking like, when would that ever creep up again? So, like I said, it's something what I will never leave you.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It's something it's good to get your insights onto it, and I appreciate you being so open about that because obviously it's not the easiest thing to sort of get into. So when I was sort of bringing that up, I was mindful. I was thinking, what, that can't be easy to talk about. Then it's only fair for you and for him and his family and for everyone involved to to touch on it. But that's a good insight into it. So moving past that into lighter sort of territory and what have you. We'll move sort of back to the future in a minute because I want to touch on your coaching and I want to touch on some of what you're doing to sort of help people with boxing, which I love. I got a massive respect for that, by the way, because people really need that. One thing though that does always come up in every interview that I do, that's boxing related, is about like hardest punches and stuff. And I know you said earlier on that I think it was Yard, right? He wasn't the hardest puncher that you faced. So I'd like to just get into who was, because this is probably one of my most popular questions with sort of boxing fans more than other boxers, if you get what I mean. It comes up every interview. So the hardest puncher you faced out of all of them, who comes to mind for that one for you?
Joe McIntyre.
Okay.
He could bang.
Yeah.
Very, very heavy-handed. But he can be outboxed. He's a game. He's fighting. He's fighting for the English title. He's back, and he seems to have the fire in his belly. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. So he can be outboxed, obviously. Like we've seen, Shinkwin's outboxed him. I've seen him being outboxed a few times, but he's got that. He's just got that. No, I think it's either hand, to be honest, right and left hand, and he can whack with them little 10-ounce gloves on. By when you get hit by one of them. So yeah, I think he's fighting Chad Sugden for the English title. So I'm going to go over. That's my old gym is. That's where Carl Greaves is. It's not on his show actually, but I'm going to go over and watch that. I think it's an interesting fight because I think Sugden will have to be on his A game to keep him off. But at the same time, Joel McIntyre is getting on. I think he's mid-30s. Around mid-30s. So, it's interesting. Sugden's you kind of say, without being respectful, he's like, Sugden probably never get a better shot of winning an English title. You know what I mean? Like someone who's just come back. You just don't know what he's got left. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I disrespect. I don't know what he's got left. And he possibly don't know himself. You know what I mean? He'll know how he's in the gym and how he's training and how he's focused. What you put on social media can be totally different to how you are. You know what I mean? I know that. So, but at the same time, I'll be honest, like, Joe McIntyre will be looking at this kind of thinking, maybe it's his easiest chance to win an English title. That light heavy division is very hot. And, like I said, I don't know how that will go. That's why I'm going to go up and watch. It'll be an interesting watch.
Sure will. Yeah, sure will be an interesting watch, and a good answer on that as well. So really, the last thing to sort of go back to, and I know we started with sort of the present day into the future, but the last thing to go back to is on your future plans, because obviously you started coaching people and sort of giving back to the sport, which is fantastic. So I know you've got a lot of big fights left, so I'm not saying it from that point of view, but I can definitely see you sort of moving into the coaching role based on that as well. And also in terms of key fights, of like who you'd like to fight next in the future. I know we did touch on that at the beginning, but it's just really your future plans, and it's not really specific about who to fight or this, that, and the other, but just like what's motivating you, what's driving you next. Obviously, you're back in the game after having this break over lockdown. There's some great fights out there. So, in your own words, what's driving you for basically your next steps from here?
Yeah. So obviously, that was first and foremost. I'm out next Friday. Tough test next Friday. Yeah. I've got Stevie Taylor 7-1, real handful. So, and let's not forget, like, Perry Howe was a small cruiser. Like, he come in and gave his best. Like, I'm not knocking what he did. He come in and gave his best, but he never really wanted to be in there. I didn't feel like to me he did. But this guy will come and will come and try to turn me over. So obviously futures, like, I would like to get the Jameson fight again. But I think it's a good fight, like a fan-friendly fight. But like if we win this next fight, I'll beat a 4-1 kid at cruiser. I'll beat a 7-1 kid at cruiser. Like surely I'll be knocking on the door somewhere for some kind of title. So, like I should have put myself in some kind of contention for something. So it's just sometimes you just got to sit tight. So first and foremost, after this fight on Friday, I'm just going to have a couple of weeks out, chill out, because I've just been back to back since October. But I have progressed. I can see him have progressed. It's given me a bit of a new lease of life, to be honest with you. Which I'm enjoying training. I'm enjoying getting up, doing my rowing intervals, because I'm fit now as well. Like the fight against Perry Howe was just purely to get me into a routine again. You know what I mean? Like I needed a fight date. I didn't know who it was. I needed a fight date. I won't bother who it was. And yeah, so. And then Carl says, do you want to go on the road or do you want to sell? Did 2,500 tickets for that, actually, just over. So, like, it shows my fan base is there. This one, not so many, because it's only, obviously, because my fight fell through in Glasgow, I only had 2 weeks to tell people about this fight. So I'm only doing around the 100 ticket mark, but still good, actually, for 2 weeks' notice, because obviously people got plans and stuff. So, yeah, so we get out of the way. But like I said, this is a tough test. I'm not in any illusion. This will be a hard night's work, I think, next Friday. But I really am firing at the minute, and I feel like I really want to make a statement Friday. I feel like I've grown into it. If you look at like my videos from, like especially from October, I was a fat pudding. I was a fat pudding, overweight, making cruiserweight. Now I'm a cruiserweight, building into a cruiserweight body. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting to the point where I'm nearly seeing my abs again, and I'm still like 15 stone. You know what I mean? So it's good. I feel good. I feel sharp. My timing's there, and like I said, I'm very fit at the minute. So yeah, very positive about the future. But yeah, get the Stevie Taylor fight out of the way, and then it'll give me a definite gauge of where I am in my career, where I want to go in my career. Because let's have it right, if he turns me over, then I've got to have a plan B as well. So I've got to be open. I've always been realistic. You know what I mean? Like I know I'm not unbeatable. I know I'm not been beaten. So. But I do feel like I'm getting better all the time, and I will take risks and I will take fights as long as they're there. So yeah, we'll just see. Well, I just want I've done a big 2022. Be nice to get a new belt around my waist. I'll be honest, it would be nice that, and a few put in the bank.
Yeah, amazing. Well, like I said at the beginning, I really do think the future is bright for yourself. I'm not just saying that just for the sake of it. Like I do think that, because especially, we've taken the time out and sort of refreshing yourself and sharpening things up and everything like that. Obviously, different weight division, all of it. I think there's some really big fights out there. So wishing you obviously, the best of luck for this upcoming fight now. Best of luck for the future. Myself and fight fans everywhere are behind you. And the last thing for me to do is just to say a big thank you once again for coming on this show, and obviously a big thank you for being so open about everything as well. The good and the bad, and getting it all out there, giving us some great material. So thank you for your time, mate. I do appreciate
it, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.